All right. Thank you for being on time. It's not that I don't like you guys. You could move over here, but there's a camera, so I have to stay over here. I'm sorry. Otherwise, I would be happy to run over. Okay, my name is Lavendt. I'm from Denmark. I run a company called Datamanics. That is a consulting shop where we work with all sorts of customers, from the biggest pharmaceutical companies to small local businesses. And I've been around the community for a couple of years, since '94. So let's dig into the topic today, about building engaging mobile apps, right? And even make her care. Well, I don't think she would care anyways. It's my daughter, the youngest one, so I just thought it would be very, saying something. So what we are going to look into today is the Engage to Go app that you probably, hopefully, all have on your device and maybe on your computer as well. But before we dig into that, I would like to set expectations here. So what's in it for you? So you know if you need to run out or if you want to stay, right? It's an intermediate session, so there will be some code and there's some considerations. And the first part of this is something that some of you, hopefully all of you already know, but maybe it's a reiteration on the process of building, in this case, mobile apps, but I think it applies to almost any situation, right? So you will learn some neat tricks, at least in my opinion, that you can apply, and we will look at code, and the app will be released probably Friday morning, completely unlocked, and you are most welcome to dig in and steal all the code. I actually encourage you to do so. I have spent a lot of time trying to put a lot of comments in there, so it's easy for you to steal it. So that's really the purpose after this Engage, right? Anyone wants to leave? No, great. Oh, thank you so much. Okay, so basically I'm dividing in this session into 3 areas: the why, what, how. Okay, so that's what we are gonna dig into. So let's start with the first one. And the reason I'm so interested in this part is that I've seen so many times that people totally skip this. I mean, like 10 years ago, everyone needed an app. Everyone wanted an app. And everyone forgot to ask themselves, why? What's the purpose of this? One example was IKEA, that I guess you all know. They also needed an app, of course, because everyone had. So they got an app that were basically replicating their website. Not replicating, it was actually a complete copy of their website, and it was working really crappy. So what was the purpose of that? Well, everyone had an app, so we needed one as well, which is really stupid in my opinion. I think it's so important to put up on the board what's the purpose of this. You can even apply it to life situations as well, but we are not going to dig in deep to existential questions here, but it actually applies to everything we're doing. What's the purpose? If we don't have a purpose, then we don't know where to go, and we don't know how and if we succeeded with this, right? So I'm saying that make sure that we have the primary purpose of what we are doing, and then there's always secondary purposes as well. So get it on the board, right? So what's the purpose of the Engage to Go app? Well, first of all, it's supposed to be a tool for navigating this conference for all of you, right? And it should be a tool where you can create your own schedule, because there's so much to choose from, right? If there wasn't many choices, we would not be able to be in this room, because there would be too many, right? And it should also have the ability for you to be able to schedule your own private meetings or meetup or events or whatever you wanted to attend to that is beside the official schedule, right? And of course, with this space, where is everything? We are on 5 floors and different rooms, and how to get there. So it has to provide an easy way for you to navigate the conference space itself. And of course, you need to get some information about who is that guy or girl who is talking, or woman, if that's appropriate to only name this. And what about the sessions? What are they about? What should I choose? And so on. And then finally, the secondary purpose of this app is that, you know, it's built on the FileMaker platform. It's kind of showcasing what we can do with the FileMaker platform. Not everything, of course, that would be impossible, but what can be done with the FileMaker platform. And in order to do so, it's very important that it is a tool where you can dig in, steal all the code, and learn from it. So that's also that's the secondary purpose of this app. Okay? And the next thing to think about is, who is your audience, and why does that matter? Well, everyone who has done just some kind of marketing knows that you can pour millions into marketing, but it really doesn't matter if you don't know who are you speaking with, who are you talking to, and who's the audience of this one. Because it really matters when you design and decide on how to speak to these people, right? So a good way, I don't know how many of you have some kind of marketing background, but it's very normal process when you do any kind of marketing that you sit down and put some keywords onto who are my target audience. So, and that goes also into which type of color speaks to this audience. So who's the target group of this message that we are giving? The same thing applies really here. So who is the target audience here? Well, it's you, but who are you? You're developers, engineers, geeks, software people, okay. So we already, you know something about software, right? And you're used to using devices like phones and computers and so on. All right, so we can tap into what others has already taught you about technology and computers and so on. But we also have to realize that there are many nationalities around here, and with that also comes a lot of different cultures in this. And the good thing is that you're interested in topics around business and software, because that's kind of what we do in this group, right? And luckily, most of us is proficient in English, so we know and understand English to a pretty good degree. Some, of course, is mother tongue, but everyone kind of understands this. And we also know what a session is and what UI, UX means and so on. Meaning that maybe I can actually use some of these wording because you already know what it is, okay? So should we even create this app, right? What's the purpose? And is it really an app that we need? So make some points here and say and talk about is this app, is this gonna solve a problem, a real problem? Is it gonna solve anything? Is it gonna add value for you? I don't know how many of you were here last year, but last year there was a website to navigate the schedule and the conference. And I think, that was on the next slide actually. That was deemed to be not so user-friendly. That was kind of diplomatic, I think. So we also get the benefit of having an app that works offline. So you can look at the schedule while you're on your flight to here and decide on which sessions do you want to go to and so on, right? And you can take session notes, and you can, of course, also get them out. So you can still get value from the conference even when you get home, because you have the sessions and the session notes and collected in one place, right? And then it's a nice way of showcasing the FileMaker platform. So all in all, with these bullet points, we made the decision that yes, it is actually appropriate to create an app for this conference. Okay? Are you still asleep or almost? Okay. So now that we have decided that we need an app, then we need to go into the details about what should it contain, and what it doesn't contain is what it shouldn't contain. That's the discussion is just as important about what do we don't want to have here, because it will be going against the primary purpose and so on, right? So for this version, we decided that session speakers and some interactive maps and my schedule were key features of the app. It helps you knowing about who's talking, what are they talking about, and how to find to their sessions, and finally organize your days here. Okay. Also, this I hope you have noticed there are some news articles that was, I don't know if that's the most sexy wording for that feature, but Rick Kalman is pushing out news updates rapidly over these 2 days with information for you, and it's very essential that the app can be updated, both in terms of fixing a bug on the fly and doing data updates as well. And then it has to provide code that is easy for you to understand, because that was the secondary purpose of the app, was that you had something to learn, right? We had some more considerations to take into account with this app, and that is that there are many people here, and you might be using a phone, an iPad, and a computer. That's three devices, so that adds up, and there could have been people at home, I'm saying, because at the last minute, more or less, we decided that it was only released to the attendees right now, and then to the general public next week, I guess, or on Friday. But it could be a lot of people that were on it, and your app is connecting to a FileMaker server to get the news updates. So it's a lot of traffic that goes to that server, of course. And the primary device is actually a phone or an iPad, because that's where it's easy to get. So the design is made for primary usage on a phone and an iPad. Sure, you can open it on your desktop as well, but it's not layouted in a way where we are using the full screen estate of a normal laptop, because it's not the primary device. Okay, so every time you go into such a process, and I try to reiterate this for both our team members and other people around. It's so easy when you're a FileMaker developer to just jump on your computer and just, let me go ahead and do something. But you risk losing oversight, and you risk building something that you need to change afterwards. So do the planning phase. The planning phase is where you do the mock-ups and you do the lists of what should be built into this one. This is just an example of a mock-up. It might be to the more pretty side. I think I tend to take some icons and just drop them in and just, take some lorem ipsum text and put it in. So it's not a design mock-up. This is probably almost too pretty because it's more about where should we have this and so on. And then the coloring stuff and so on comes on later. Typically when this was made before I had the design with the color boxes and so on. Okay, so this is my way of doing it. Do the mock-ups and architecture and then go in and start with the data layer because you already know a lot. And it doesn't matter if you need to add a field or two, but the main architecture, have that in place before you start. So you also already know how the architecture should work with the relationships and so on for the most part. And then I'm starting building layouts and putting buttons on. And then finally add the scripts for navigation and features. I try to do it in this order because I find it more efficient in total. And then, of course, at a certain point, you're doing all things all together. Okay. So that was my intro, which was only 15 minutes, so it's not too bad. And you're still awake, most of you. So should we dig into some code here? Is that okay? All right, good. So there's a couple of features that I try to highlight here because they are to me interesting. There's the in-app updates. We are gonna go into that in a minute, as well as the data update. That's kind of two things. Then we are gonna look into the interactive maps feature, and then finally the news updates using OData. In case we have time left, I can show you the localization method that I'm using. Maybe you have noticed that you can change the language to Spanish, or Italian, or German, or even Japanese. And it's not completely translated, but for the app part it is actually. Right, so this in-app update, can we do an in-app update? Have you heard about that expression? Yeah, you have noticed that when you get an update notification for your FileMaker application, you can run that update and it does an in-app update, right? Can you do that with a FileMaker file? Right? Yeah? All right. You all know how to do it? No? Okay. We are going to look into that because it's a neat trick, and there are, of course, several ways to do it, but the way we are doing it here is pretty simple. Basically, we are going to check for updates. And how do we do that? We do an insert from URL call to a web server where there is a file, a text file, that has two values, app and data, colon, and then a number. That's it. That's the only thing. So if I get this back, I can check those two numbers against what is written into the app about the app version and the data version. And if one of these numbers are higher than what is in my app, then there is an update. Okay? So the update is available. And speaking about the app update, we start the process by exporting your user data. So your schedule, your session notes, and what other data might be in there that you have created. We need to take that out of the FileMaker file. Because what we are doing with the in-app, and that's why I'm quoting in-app, is basically we are replacing your file with a new file. So we need to get your data out, and then we are downloading the new app file to a container field in a helper file, and then we are going to overwrite the existing file with a new one. Does that make sense? And finally, import the user data. And now we have done an in-app update, okay? So that is actually how to do it. You want to see how? Okay, so let's dig in. All right. So we have the app here, or the app. It sounds a little bit stupid to call it an app, but it's kind of an app even though it's just a FileMaker file, right? But anyway, so we have the app here. This, I don't know if you noticed, but there's actually, now these are purple because these are all the session that goes on right now. So it's a matter of doing formatting that is relevant to you and to the time of day, right? So let's dig into the script here. And first of all, we are gonna check this. Let me see, maybe, yeah. Want to zoom in so it's easy to follow along. And this is the code that you can go in and steal right away. So first of all, you know, let me just show that. So you get to the update feature. When you open the file, we automatically check if there is an update, okay? But other than that, you click here and check for update. And there is an update and we don't want to apply it. So we are gonna close this card window. The menu that you saw popping up is a card window. So we are gonna close this. We are gonna go to a layout just in order to show that now we are actually checking for the update. So this is the update. So we are targeting a variable and then the URL for where does this text file sits is in a container field. And then we are basically just saying, yeah, give me that. And then we are gonna do some error checking here. That is not so important, but what we do here is we know that the first value is the app version number and the second one is the data version number, okay? So what we do here is that we take the value of that variable that we set. It's easy enough to read, isn't it? Should I zoom more or no? It's okay, good. So I'm taking the first value from that file that came into the variable, and then I'm just filtering out, so I only have the number left. And then I do the same for the second one, which is the data version, and it has... yeah, and okay, so can I zoom here? No, but I can do this. Okay, so why do I have two calculations here? Value 2 and 3. It's because sometimes a text file can have extra returns, and depending on how you get it down, you can have an empty line in between. So just in order, a very simple way to account for that is just to say, okay, let me just take a value 2 and 3, and if there is something in either one, then I have the result I'm after, right? So it was very, very low level or way of doing it, all right? So now we need to go to, well, we are gonna go to a layout that just is looking nice, and then what we do here is that if the app version that we got down is greater than what we have stored in a field, then we are gonna ask if, are you ready to update? Okay, and if you say, yes, I'm ready, then we're gonna perform the update. And this is the app update part. And why do we have that first? And as you can see, I'm running a script to do that, and we're gonna look into that in a minute. And then I say exit. But maybe you can see there's something about the data update down here, right? But if we get an app update, we have ensured that all the data updates is already applied to that FileMaker file. So we don't want to download a FileMaker file and then a data file as well. So that's why we are just updating the app and skipping the data part afterwards if there is an app update. Okay, So far, so good? Is it okay? Just let me know if I'm too fast or too boring. Okay, and if there is a data update, then we are gonna go in and do the data update script here. But let's dig into how to do the interesting part about the, where was it? Not there. Hey, here it was. Okay. So let's dig in here. So now we know we have an update. Okay. So we are going to put the update number into a variable, and I see I'm using a custom function saying get script parameter value. So this assumes that you could feed a list of values as a script parameter. So it's just a custom function I've built in order to avoid saying get value, get script parameter number 1, 2, 3, right? So it's just a custom function. And I know I have a file name, and the file name is, what is the name of this file I'm sitting in? I'm sitting in engage2go.fmp12, and get file name is only the file name, not the file extension. But we need the file extension, so I'm applying it here in this variable. Okay, and then I need to know where can I get this update. Okay, so the path for that is, okay, yeah, and the app that I'm going to download also sits on a web server. It doesn't have to be on a web server. You could get it from a FileMaker server in a container field instead, if you want to. Okay, just to say. And we actually have an internal app store where we store apps like this in container fields and manage that in FileMaker. And that's because it's internal apps. In this case, it's public, so it doesn't matter that it's accessible on a website because it contains no secret information. So it's no problem, and it's just easy to just host it on a website and just have the path and the URL to it from there. So the way I generate, how is this path? So there's a field that has, or maybe. Is that better? Yeah. So there's a field here where the URL, the base URL is for this website. Then we know there's an update number. And the reason is that we have several folders with different version numbers of the app. So if this is number 1, 2, 3, which I think is actually the most recent version, then the folder is named 1, 2, 3. And why is that? Because all the files has the same file name, of course, right? So we are putting in here the file name. So the first value here is the entire path to where to download the app file from. And that would be the same that was in the email that you got from Claris prior to this event. The second one is I want to get the file path. And what file path are we talking about? It's the file path of this app. So when it's sitting on your FileMaker Go, it goes into the FileMaker Go documents folder, no problem. But if you have it on your computer, did you put it in the documents folder or on the desktop, or do you have some organization? And if we want to update your app, then we need to know where is your app actually. But we have a get function where we can get that. So now we have generated a variable that maybe improperly is named update URL because it contains actually two informations. But anyway, we go to a layout, and now it's time to get the flag sessions into. And what is a flag session? That is what you put on my schedule. Okay. And what we are doing is basically we are just taking a list of session IDs. We don't need to have the description or the headline or anything because that's already in the table. So we only need to know the ID of these records that you have flagged for your schedule. Okay. So we take that. That's just a block of text. We put that into a yeah, well, basically we are exporting this text into a text file that has the name myschedule.txt, and we're using the temporary path because you shouldn't see this file, so we are just putting it into the temp folder. It only has to sit there until we have replaced your file and imported it back. Then we don't need it anymore. And in the temporary folder, the operating system, no matter if it's on iOS or Mac or Windows, it will take care of deleting those files in the temp folder. So we don't have to worry about that. So now it's done. Then I need to have, if I have some custom events, I'm gonna put that into a text object. So again, a text file that I can export. But here we have some more information, because if you had a meeting with someone, you had a start date and a start time, and an end date and an end time. You had a headline, maybe a location, and a description, and there could even be more information. So we need to gather this, and I've put in here 2 ways of doing it. One is putting it into a variable using a while statement, and the other one is doing it in a loop. So the reason I put both in is actually this code comes from 2019, I think, and we didn't have the while function back then. So instead of deleting it, I just outcommented it, because this is just as good as doing a smart while. So I put both in there, so if you're not so familiar with while functions, you can maybe learn something from here, and else you can see the logic behind it here. But you all know how to do while functions, right? Or is it interesting enough? Maybe, okay. So the idea is basically, yeah, and this is where I took maybe a little bit of a shortcut in this sense. In the table, I have a calculated field. This is my naming convention, ZZC, because it's something that is not primary data, and C stands for, it's a calculated field. And what it does is that it's writing a JSON of that record with that information that we need. So it's just writing a JSON object. And what I do in this while is that I'm looking through a relationship in order to see the custom events, my events here, and put it into a full JSON array. And that's basically what I'm doing here. So this is how it works, okay? Simple enough. And I just put in a set recursion of 100, because if you're creating more than 100 custom events, then you're gonna be really busy today, right? So I assume that 100 was well enough. And this set recursion is a nice fail-safe that will just prevent everything from breaking down if you made a mistake in your code. Okay, I don't need to explain more about this, right? So we build the file. I put it into the temporary path again, because it needs to be deleted. And I do this I'm creating a binary file here. I don't know if you know this trick, but how to create a file from a text block. It's actually not that complicated. I have a global container here, meaning that, yeah, it's global, so its purpose is to serve as a utility. So in here, I'm doing a base 64 decode with a base 64 encode and a text encode here. Holy crap, that a lot, right? But the good thing is that you can steal it and it will work. So what I'm doing here is that I take this text block that I have in the variable. I say it should be UTF-8 because it's a nice universal format that works everywhere. And then I say the line ending should be 2, meaning that What is the... that's unchanged, I think. It really doesn't matter here too much because it's UTF-8 and that works with these line endings. And this is a JSON object, which is basically just a single value, okay? And then you just put in the name of the file that you're doing here. And this trick will actually take the text block and with the text encode make sure that it has the right format, UTF encoding and line endings. And then by doing a base 64 encode and then decode it into a binary object, then you have a file that we are setting into the container fields because container fields contains binary files. And now you have created a file. This is only one way of doing it. It's actually the old way of doing it because now we also have some script steps where you can write files. Okay, but this is just as good as well. All right, so now we have my custom events and we need to do the same for the session nodes. And actually I can see that I have applied different techniques here. So you can dig into this script and get several techniques that you can use in different ways. So maybe it's not that bad that it's not the same way. As I can see here, I go in here and I do an execute SQL and getting the ID and session nodes if it's in the list of. So we have a summary field here that will give a list of the IDs that has any session nodes in, because we don't want to export like 80 sessions where you only have session nodes in 3 of them, right? We only care about those 3. So here is an execute SQL statement, and I see there's also some custom functions that you can grab and use if you want to apply this. But basically, I'm doing the same, grabbing it into a variable, and then I'm gonna give it a file name, and then I'm gonna put it into a field here, interface session nodes. So I'm taking the contents here and putting it into a normal text field and just export the content. So that's a different way of doing it. So there are different techniques even in this script to do basically the same thing, right? Okay, so now here comes the more interesting part where we actually have sitting inside in a container field in the app, there's a small FileMaker file that we export. This field gets exported into the temporary folder again because we don't want to show it to the user. And its purpose is to remember in the start we set that update URL, which is the URL to the new file on the web server and the location of the Engage2Go app itself. So this helper file will take care of that. So we are gonna export it, and then at the bottom we are gonna call a script, the only script in that file, with these 2 values as a script parameter, the update URL. So it tells the helper file where can I find the new version and where is the location of the existing file. Okay? And how does that file look then? Let's wait, come on. So here's the file, and I see it actually a little bit embarrassing. I didn't replace the logo here, but basically, as you can see, this is one layout. That's it. If we are going to look into table, there's one table with one record and one field, a container field. Not much, right? So, and we also only have a single script in here, okay? And as you can see, there is some lines here, 46 lines, but that's because there's space and comments. The magic happens in about 6 to 8 lines of code. That's the magic of updating the app. So first of all, we are gonna use this. Thank you, Christian. So we are gonna, and there's some references to the DevCon to Go app, which was used before COVID. I hope you bear on this. But we are setting a variable here with where is the engage to Go app. That was the second value in the script parameter. And then the first value in the script parameter is the update URL. So notice that I'm setting it into a $$ variable. And why? It's because in the external data sources, I reference this app by using the path in the $$ variable. It's a really, really nice feature that got added some years ago. So as soon as this global variable is there, we have a working relationship with the original file, okay? So we have that, meaning that now we can close the original file. Okay, we are going to override it, and we cannot override the file unless it's closed. So now we are going to close it, and because we have that path in the the global variable, we can now close the app via the relationship. Then we are going to do an insert from URL, where the target is the container field, right? So we are going to grab it from the website, put it into the container field, and let's just make sure it's committed. Then we are going to use a path, and I just like to, well, it's not really needed this step, but I just like to put it into a single variable. And now we're going to do an export contents. And the export contents of that container folder, we're going to put it into the path. And what is the path? The path is the path to the original file, okay? And since the original file is closed and we're going to export into the same location with the same file name, we are going to overwrite the original one. And now it's there, but it has the same name, the same file path. The file is actually replaced, but FileMaker doesn't care. So now we're going to open the file that we have the relationship to in the global variable. So we open that one, and then we are going to run a script here in the app. And I do realize it says that it's unknown and so on, but it's because it's not in the right location for each other when I open these files. So it's just basically opening this, and then just in order to clean up a little bit, I set the container field to nothing, basically deleting the file from the container field because I don't want to have it sitting on disk for no reason until the operating system is flushing it. So I just clean it out, and then finally I close this helper file. Now the helper file is just in temporary path where it will be flushed out by the operating system when you close the FileMaker Go or FileMaker application. So that was the entire process. And of course the script we are calling is in the original one, and that is import the user data afterwards. Okay? Was it too detailed? A little bit? Okay, we don't have so much time. So let me just jump back in here, because there's another really nice feature that I would like to talk about that I think is pretty cool, and you can do pretty cool stuff with it. And that is the maps. SVG maps. I don't know if you have explored it, but if you go to the map button, you can click on each of these, and it will take you to the list of sessions, or it will give you a dialogue saying this room is for eating, or this is for, or here's the museum, or whatever, right? So it's interactive. The thing about these maps is that these are SVG files, and SVG is if none of you know it, or if someone of you doesn't know it, it is screen vector graphics. So basically it's graphics, but it's described as text. Text. That's easy to work with. And that's the entire idea. I did a session last year on this technique, this feature, where I showcased several other usages of this, but it can actually really lift your solution to become much more interesting for your users when you can do something visual and you can interact with it. And it's not that difficult. You want to see how? Yeah! Good. Okay, so let's dig fast in. So everyone, so you can click here and then you see something. The other way, the other usage of this, and this is the same view on map. And notice that it has lines, right? So it's telling you how to get to this room from the elevator. Okay? Pretty nice. And it's basically the same. So in the table, you can find it yourself, but in the table, you can find the SVG for each. Okay, so there is an SVG file for every level in this building, of course. But that's it. And this is the SVG, okay? I'm just going to scroll pretty fast so that you can see it's not really that much. The first part is about styling, and here is the drawing, right? Not too much, okay? Let's dig in a little bit to what are these parts. So this is just describing it as something to do with SVG and so on. But here is a section that is styling. And this is kind of pretty long, whoops, as compared to, it might not have to be this long, but these maps comes out of as an export from Illustrator. You can use different other tools, or maybe you know a graphic designer that can provide whatever you want as a SVG file. Okay, so this is about some styling, and then we have some backgrounds, and the building is here. And it's nicely named, okay? But then we have the rooms, and they are just here with the Emma Long Park, for example. And looking into this part, it starts with a G, and really doesn't matter if you understand everything that is in here. The important thing is that you understand what you need to, right? So, and what do you really need to? Well, this is the G is really the objects, okay? The graphic objects. In this case, it has an ID, that's fine. But more importantly, as you can see here, I actually put in a kind of a merge code that I call button 3. Okay? It really doesn't matter how you format that. This is just my preference of using curly brackets, double curly brackets. Okay? So this one is important. All the other stuff here is about how should this object be drawn. Square, round, whatever you have. And then over here, there is the actual name, and that's because we display that name on the room. So that's all there is to it, okay? When it comes to the object. Then see that we have classes here. So here is a mint line, there's a mint background, highlight, and so on. These classes is important. And classes refer to the styling that we have up here, okay? So just without understanding way too much, but we have this mint background highlight. And notice I have another merge code here. So I say background number 3, and why number 3? Because this is my room number 3 in the table of rooms that we have in this building, okay? So this is a merge code. The great thing here is that the opacity, that's really what I'm playing with, the opacity. If I set it to 0, then it's completely vanished, right? So we don't see it. If I set it to 1, it's there. So I can play with this. This is just text. So now it's just a matter of saying substitute this merge code with either 1 or 0, depending on what I want to show. Okay? The same with the button. Replace that with a code that will call a FileMaker script, and that's all there is to it. And then we have it here in a web viewer. Okay, and the web viewer is like, it has some extra stuff here that is really not that important. There's something about the way it scales and so on. But basically I have a let statement here that is saying, okay, should we show the room or not? And in this case we should not show the room because it's not highlighted in itself. Everyone is showed there. I check from a repeating field, that's my SVG, and then I have the button text here where I have an on-click and so on, perform FileMaker script with option. That's one of the new JavaScript functions or web viewer thing. And then I use a while here where I simply loop through the merge codes that I can find in my SVG and replace it with whatever makes sense for the map that I'm showing here, and put in the buttons. And that's basically what there is to it. It's just some FileMaker calculation that is replacing some merge codes in the SVG file because it's text, right? And you can apply this all over. And you know, it's a button, so you call a script. And what can you do with the script? Like in this case, we are going to another layout, do a search, and show a list of sessions. But you can do all sorts of things here. You can even replace the map with another one. Let's say you want to zoom in and dig in. You have the building and say, okay, I want to go into that floor. Okay, zoom in and show another map. And I want to see what's in this room and zoom in and show a third map, right? The possibilities are endless with this. It's just a matter of using your creativity. So this is actually the only thing we are doing. That is the thing. That is the thing. Very clever. The one thing I wanted to show is that we are using two different layouts. Even though it looks like the same layout, but it is two different layouts. The only reason is that this web viewer sits on a slide panel, so we can slide between the levels. It could be done in many different ways, but I just choose to do the slide panel. And then I have the other one. As you can see, there's no slide panel. There's only the web viewer, and then I have the calculation here, which is actually pretty much the same as the other one. There's something like, you can see background 22. That is a workaround for someone in the organization wanted to do different usage of two rooms that were originally used in combination, but now in some cases, in one case it should not, so I had to do a workaround there. That's the only reason for that. Okay, and as you can see, and just to show you, we have 22 records here. That's the 22 rooms in that location table. And if I move around here, you can see we are shifting, and it's slitting up the room that is for, on the record, okay? And so when you go from the session and to show on map, we basically do a search on the room, okay? Simple enough. Boring, okay, super. All right, I was super excited about this feature, but anyway, don't sweat it. All right, So the news update. Oh, we have. Does anyone have any questions? Because I can see we have only 5 minutes left. So just if you have any question, there's a guy with a microphone. We need to record it. So, but just please jump in if you have any questions at this time. Meaning that I have explained everything in way too much details. Okay. So the news update is a feature where Rick Kalman is posting news, and we want you to have that. So originally the ask was, can we have push notifications? No, we can't, because it's a FileMaker Go and it's a file running in FileMaker Go, and FileMaker Go cannot have push notifications because it has to be tied to a specific app. And as you know, FileMaker Go can run many apps at the same time. So there will never be push notifications. I think there will never be push notifications on FileMaker Go because it has to be a single app that is utilizing this. So since we cannot do push notifications, is there another way? And yes, of course there is another way where we can do notifications-ish, right? The way we did this were using the OData and querying a FileMaker server, and we have a script that is on window trigger script that runs every 5 minutes, and that script is doing a call to the engaged FileMaker server and ask, is there any news updates? And if there is, we are gonna show that in the app, or basically we check for the updates. If there is an update, then we are just getting the headline and the ID. And we create records in the app for that, okay? And then show a small icon that it looks like a notification saying that now there's a news update. And this call is really fast, even though there's a lot of people here. The server sits in San Francisco at the moment, but it goes pretty fast to do that. So you should not notice that there can be a little delay when you're in the app when it does this update. So it feels like it's a notification. So when you get to the list of news, when you select the news, then we're saying, oh, we don't have the body to show you, so let's grab that body of this news and only for that news story. And the reason for this is that I'm trying to limit the amount of calls to the FileMaker server and the amount of data that needs to travel, because as we said, maybe you have 3 devices, there are several hundred people here, and there could be many more. So we don't want to bang the server way too much if it's not needed. So this is the design here. And I can see I'm gonna go pretty fast into this. I hope it's okay. But you know, you're so clever, so I'm sure that you totally get this. Oh, wrong. Here. Okay, so basically we just have a timer that starts and stops and make sure that it's running when you have the app open and so on. Here, where is it? Yeah. Here we are just gonna do a check. So we have some timer stuff here. I'm gonna run pretty fast over this, but the idea is that we have this table and every news story has an ID starting from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So it's serialized, meaning that we, through a relationship, we can see what is the highest number that we have in our news table. Okay, it's 7. So we are gonna create an OData query, and that is basically done in these 2 lines here. So we are going to do a query to the server saying, do you have anything that is higher than 5, 7, whatever your number is? And then the result from the server would be, yeah, here is the next 3 stories, 8, 9, 10, and the headline. And it's only the headline and the news and the ID. And we use that to create 3 new records. And then finally, at the end, we are gonna do a news unread, where we say, okay, how many do we have content in the body? If we have the content in the body, you have read the story, or you could have read the story. And how many don't we have any body in? And then we can display that little icon, which is a global variable, and say, okay, now you have 3 new stories to read. So that's basically it.
So it downloads after the person clicks on it? So it downloads after the person clicks on it, the actual story?
Yes, yeah. So your question is that that the story only gets downloaded when you click on it. There's an on-record load script trigger. So when you navigate to the record with the new story and it sees, oh, I don't have anybody, that's actually this one, show. If is empty, news body, let's go ahead and download it. Otherwise, we are just, it's already there. Let's not put any stress on the network or the server for that. Okay? This is a simple example of using OData, but the OData has, well, many advantages. In this case, it has the advantage that it's a single call to get something. We don't need to dial up, get a token, so we can do another call to get what we really want to do a third call to disconnect the session. So it's just a single call. That's nice, and then it's pretty fast and performant. And the way you can structure the queries to say, I only want to have the ID and the headline, nothing else. So don't bother sending me all kinds of extra stuff that I don't really need. We don't want that line to be too busy here. So that's a very good advantage, and you can really optimize your integration doing this. Okay, so that was basically what we could have. So just to recap, I talked a lot about the purpose and about the audience and the features, and do we really need this app or not? And then we digged into some FileMaker code, and sure, we could probably have used some more about this. So please remember to fill out your evaluations. It's very, very helpful in order for everyone to get better. And it's in your Engage to Go app, of course, right? And here's how to do it. Any questions at this time? No? Yes?
How can we access
Wait,
layout mode?
just a second.
Oh,
yeah.
How can we access layout mode? Is that a specific version we can download, or?
On Friday, you should update your app. On Friday morning, there should be an update, and that version will be unlocked. There will be a, I can show very quickly. In here, there will be a developer tools button here that you don't see now, and it will show, I think, both on, it will show both on iOS and not. And no, I'm already logged in with full access, but there will be a button here to say log in with full access. And it will actually tell you what the username and password is. So that will be available on Friday. Yeah. Okay, then.
We're logging in with what, admin, and are you going to give us the credentials?
Not now. No, I'm not going to give you credentials now. On Friday morning, at some point when Rosemary has it uploaded, you can get an update, and that version will have that menu, and there will be a dialog that gives you the credentials. Okay? All right. Thank you very much for coming.